Yesterday I did a video about a job interview that was 38 miles away from me. A drive to and from there would be like over 70 miles. And I talked about how I was enticed by the idea of possibly starting as soon as Monday at this other job in the event that they hired me, but that because of how far away it was, the fact that I wasn't guaranteed to be hired even if I went to this interview, I just wasn't really jumping at it the way I would if it were closer by. So, two people commented on that video, one of whom is a recurring character. And, the funny thing about Jem, and his comment was, get the job with the more hours, it's time to earn money. I remember back when I first started working at my current job around October, November of 2023, back when the only issue really was of how far it was, and they were giving me 3-4 shifts a week on average. And I remember that I did a stream, and if he tries to deny he said this or wrote this, I will go to through my archive and screenshot it and dig for it. But when I conveyed that this job was over 20 miles away from me, Jem's response to that was something to the effect of, uh, driving that far for a job is like asking for car trouble. Basically saying that I was stupid for taking a job that was so far away from me, 20 plus miles. Whereas my retort was, well, I need a job, so what more do you expect me to do? But I just think it's funny that the same guy who basically called me dumb for driving 40 miles to and back to a job is now encouraging me to drive over 70 miles to and from a job. So that's a nice little element of hypocrisy. But let me really break down what the issue with driving so far for work has been for me. The first day I started at my current job, they told me to come, and I believe it was at 10 in the morning, 11 a.m., somewhere in that like middle of the day approaching hour. And I left for work an hour before it was supposed to take place. I put on my GPS, Google Maps, whatever, and it said I would be there roughly within 40 minutes after getting on the freeway. And I marveled at the insanity of how I could be projected to get there roughly 10 minutes early to eventually not being able to get there until almost 20 minutes into my shift because there was just so much damn traffic. And that was what from then on caused me to leave 2 hours before a shift would start, just to get there on time. And it became very crazy to just have to keep, again, every time you see, oh, shift starts at 5 o'clock, gotta leave at 3 o'clock. Oh, shift starts at 7 p.m., gotta leave at 4:30 p.m. because that's around, 5 is when people are usually like getting off of work, and that's going to make it to where getting over there within that projected 2 hour slot is even more difficult. But all I'm getting at is I really want to avoid having to drive so far just to work somewhere because of the time factor of like making it take longer to get there, as well as the additional cost. These guys, the other guy, I've seen him before a few times. It's like, oh well, you know, this job will, the additional time, the gas costs will be mitigated by the extra number of hours. Like, I guess, but I mean, the way I look at it is I try to factor in things I know I have to pay versus stuff that the job adds on. That's why a lot of people don't want to, for example, do these jobs that want you to use your own car because, it's your gas getting, used for their purpose. Even if you're making money from it, it still is an extra expense on your end. But I'm saying if I have to piss out $50, $60 for gas, mostly just to go to the job, that's not factoring in the additional cost of either trying to go somewhere else, really just doing anything that might not be directly having to do with the job. Like if I on average burn through about $200 worth of gas every month, just to like run errands and do whatever other little assortment of things. Maybe you want to go to the movie theater. It might double the cost just by virtue of going to this job. And I don't like that where I'm like already kind of, penny pinching, so they have to do that even more because your job is so damn far away, right? That it's what, $7, $8, $9, $10 just to go over there each day. I just think is ridiculous. But yeah, it's one of those things where people just can't acknowledge the nuances of certain situations. I'm the first one who says the current one is bad, but the problem is a lot of this other stuff, when you really start breaking it down, is not good. I talked about how I came very close to starting at that job that was having me canvas from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. But I said, this is too much. Why do I have to work 60 hours a week doing something that makes me physically uncomfortable? I talked about how there was another job where they wanted me to drive, I think, 40 miles to deliver like school lunches to different schools for 3-hour shifts Monday through Friday. So you're gonna burn through, $10 just to earn like 30 something a day. I mean, my point I'm making is a lot of this other stuff, even if I could say that on paper it sounds better than what I currently have, still is not something in the long run I would want to do. Like, would I really want to go through another year, 2 years, 5 years of driving a dozen plus miles, like just to get to a job? Especially if it's even further, 70 miles a day, 300 miles every week just to go to work, just for that one particular role or purpose. So I know they'll make me sound like I'm crazy for not wanting to burn through 70 miles of gas every day. I know that makes me sound very bizarre, but I'm just not I'm not rushing to get into something that doesn't feel like it's suited for me in the long term. That's why when I started doing the other one, that canvassing thing, I really gave it a few days. I weighed the pros and cons. I didn't pull the switch on getting rid of this other job as much as I wanted to, because I had a feeling that they were either going to introduce something dumb over there too, or begin to act in a way that was not befitting of like a long-term adjustment. When you have to like meet a quota every day in terms of selling something just to retain your employment, that's crazy. Um, so, me staying on this job is not because it's good. I readily admit it's trash, but a lot of this other stuff, either because of how far away it is, the stuff they have you doing, or crappy hours over there as well, just kind of, makes them not really suitable upgrades either.